gosh, you guys. Hello, party people. Okay, this is number 4. This will be the last one. It'll be short. I'm just finishing out Luke chapter 22, also known as Apple because TikTok hates the Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Okay, so please watch the previous video. Number 3 is where I started chapter 22. Okay, videos 1 and 2 today were on chapter 21. So videos 3 and 4 are doing chapter 22. Okay, so now we're at verse 39, and this is the prayer in the Garden of Gethsemane, right? Coming out, he went to the Mount of Olives as he was accustomed, and his disciples also followed him. And he came to the place, and he said to them, "Pray that you may not enter into temptation." And Jesus was withdrawn from them at about a stone's throw, and he knelt down and prayed, saying, "Father, if it is your will, take this cup away from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done." Now, cup here always often represents wrath, right? The wrath of God, the judgment, right? So he's recognizing that he's about to suffer, and in a way that no one has ever suffered before, because he's going to take on all of our sin so that we have access to heaven, that we have access to the Father. This was destroyed with Adam, and now he's going to make the ultimate sacrifice to restore that relationship. So we saw in the previous chapters how Lucifer is doing everything he can to stop this, but he has not had success. So then it says, after Jesus prayed that, then an angel appeared to him from heaven, strengthening him. And being in agony, he prayed more earnestly. Then his sweat became like great drops of blood falling down to the ground. When Jesus rose up from prayer and had come to his disciples, he found them sleeping from sorrow. Then he said to them, "Why do you sleep? Rise and pray, lest you enter into temptation." And while he was still speaking, behold, a multitude, and he who was called Judas, one of the 12, went before them and drew near to Jesus to kiss him. But Jesus said to him, "Judas, are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss?" I mean, that is so sick. That is just so evil. I mean, that's just such a perversion. Then in verse 49, when those around Jesus saw what was going to happen, they said to Jesus, "Lord, shall we strike with the sword?" And one of them struck the servant of the high priest and cut off his right ear. But Jesus answered and said, "Permit even this." And he touched his ear and healed him. So what I love is in that movie with Mel Gibson, when they show him reaching out and touching and healing that guard that got his ear cut off, how I love that scene. If you have not seen that movie, The Passion of the Christ, that scene is so powerful that in the midst of all this chaos going on all around this guard, you could see just this guard, just wonder and awe when God touched him and healed him. What he experienced was just, that actor was able to portray just the immense sense of awe that this guy, all this chaos was still going on around him, and he was just in the moment recognizing that Jesus is God. It was so powerful. And so then it says, verse 52, then Jesus said to the chief priests, captains of the temple, and the elders who had come to him, "Have you come out as against a robber with swords and clubs? When I was with you daily in the temple, you did not try to seize me. But this is your hour and the power of darkness." Having arrested him, they led him and brought him into the high priest's house, but Peter followed at a distance. Now when they had kindled now before we go into any more right here, having arrested him, they led him and brought him into the high priest's house. So this is going contrary to the law, how they were supposed to happen. So every time I see this, it drives me crazy, because God is always pointing out in the prophets and in the stories how the law is, whenever you see a decline of a nation, you're seeing the laws being perverted, right? People are making false accusations. They're perverting and twisting the law, and just doing, it's, like now they call it lawfare, right? It's a way of using the law to pervert justice so that evil can reign. And God sees it and God hates it. And what happened right here? This is another example. They took Jesus into the house of the high priest, and this was on a holy day in the morning. They were not supposed to do that. It was not supposed to be done in the house of a high priest. And what was the other thing? There were multiple things that they did. He was supposed to have representation. He didn't have representation. And there were several other things that they did wrong, and according to the law. So this was all a perversion of justice, what they did to Jesus. Just basic 1, 2, 3 was not being followed as far as how this was supposed to have been done legitimately. And of course, that's the way things are done when things are falling apart. When God is not being honored, the laws are always being broken. So then it says, so they took him into the high priest's house, but Peter followed at a distance. Now when they had kindled a fire in the midst of the courtyard and sat down together, Peter sat among them. And a certain servant girl, seeing him as he sat by the fire, looked intently at him and said, "This man was also with him." But he denied him, saying, "Woman, I do not know him." And after a little while, another saw him and said, "You also are one of them." But Peter said, "Man, I am not." Then after about an hour had passed, another confidently affirmed, saying, "Surely this fellow was with them, for he is a Galilean." But Peter said, "Man, I do not know what you are saying." Immediately, while Peter was still speaking, the rooster crowed, and the Lord turned and looked at Peter. Now, how harsh is that? That is just heartbreaking. So he was within vision. He could see where Jesus was, and Jesus turned and looked at him when the rooster crowed, because he had already foretold that Peter was going to do that. Then the Lord turned and looked at Peter. Then Peter remembered the word of the Lord, how he had said to him, "Behold, before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times." So Peter went out and wept bitterly. Now when the men who had mocked Jesus, they beat him and mocked him, and having blindfolded him, they struck him on the face and asked him, saying, "Prophesy, who is the one who struck you?" And many other things they blasphemously spoke against him. As soon as it was day, the elders of the people, both chief priests and scribes, came together and led him into their council, saying, "If you are the Christ, tell us." But Jesus said to them, "If I tell you, you will by no means believe. And if I also ask you, you will by no means answer me or let me go. Hereafter, the Son of Man will sit on the right hand of the power of God." Then they all said, "Are you then the Son of God?" And so Jesus said to them, "You rightly say that I am." And they said, "What further testimony do we need? For we have heard it ourselves from his own mouth." So there you have it. All right. Yeah. So of course, when, like the study Bible said, it was not illegal during that time to claim to be Messiah. There was lots of people rising up saying they were Messiah, trying to, present themselves as someone who could lead a bunch of people away to get rid of the Roman rule and to establish the kingdom. And of course, that was not illegal, but those people always disappeared after a while. But claiming that you were sitting at the right hand of the power of God is claiming to be equal to God, right? First of all, you're sitting in God's presence and you're sitting on his right hand. So that represented, and he claimed to be the Son of God. So immediately they recognize that as him claiming to be God. And so people that say he didn't claim to be God, there's a lot of people that will make claims about the Bible, but they've never studied the Bible, right? They don't understand the context. They don't understand the language. So that's another reason I'm always on your guys' case to read the Bible. It's so important. It's so important. All right, so that's all I had for you. I got a lot of stuff to do. My chickens are waiting. I got to let them out. Read your Bible. Get a good study Bible. Nelson is what I've used. Step Bible app is awesome. There's so much stuff you could just do with that and just the readings for today. And then I think that's it. Peace. Love you. Bye.